Hello, nice to have you join us on the news at 5, reaching you from Channels Television's global headquarters in Lagos, Nigeria. I'm Dominic Iwiwa, and these are the stories and reports we're tracking at the moment. The National Assembly has advanced consideration of the proposed state police framework, with the House of Representatives voting on the constitutional amendment bill seeking to establish state police, while the Senate passed the measure for second reading in the Green Chamber. Lawmakers adopted a show-of-hands voting process after Speaker Abbas Tajuddin announced that the electronic voting system was not operational. At the end of the exercise, 288 members voted in support of the bill, while 4 voted against it. The proposal forms part of ongoing constitutional amendment efforts aimed at reviewing Nigeria's policing structure and broader security architecture. Meanwhile, the Senate referred the bill to the Senate Committee on the Review of the Constitution for further legislative consideration following its second reading. Senate President Godswill Akpabio said the upper chamber would take a vote on the proposal at a subsequent sitting. The national leader of the Nigeria Democratic Congress NDC, Seriake Dickson, has addressed concerns surrounding the party's recently concluded presidential primary, acknowledging operational lapses while maintaining that the exercise reflected the realities of a developing political platform still consolidating its structures nationwide. Speaking in Abuja during an engagement with media executives, Mr. Dickson, flanked by members of the National Working Committee, attributed some of the challenges to the removal of provisions that previously allowed parties flexibility in adopting either direct or indirect primary systems. He also cited issues of timing, rapid expansion, and the deployment of digital systems as factors that affected the conduct of the exercise, while insisting that the shortcomings were largely due to human error rather than deliberate manipulation.
Let me just quickly introduce some members of the National Working Committee. We have Abdullahi Akilu, who is the leader of the People with Special Needs.
Operation Hadinkai has recorded another significant breakthrough in its counterterrorism operations following the surrender of 2 high-profile Islamic State West Africa province commanders on 8th of June 2026. The surrendered terrorists, identified as Ismail Mohammed and Abu Umar, are currently in military custody, undergoing profiling and debriefing. Preliminary assessments indicate that both individuals held key positions within the terrorist hierarchy and operated along the Mangari axis in the Lake Chad region. Ismail Mohammed was reportedly a close associate of Senior ISWAP leader Ba Shua and had extensive knowledge of the group's command structure and operations. Abu Umar was identified as a specialist in explosives with responsibilities linked to the fabrication and maintenance of vehicle-borne improvised explosive devices and other combat support systems. Interrogation also revealed that another high-profile figure, Mohammed Khalifa, a member of the ISWAP Shura Council, was neutralized during recent joint operations under Operation Hadinkai. According to military sources, the surrender of the 2 commanders marks a significant setback for the group, given their experience and technical expertise. It is also seen as evidence of sustained operational pressure by troops, supported by coordinated air and ground operations, which continue to degrade terrorist capabilities, disrupt their networks, and compel further surrenders across the theater. In Zamfara State, the State Police Command has rescued 5 kidnapped victims following a swift tactical operation along the Anka-Bukoyom Road. In a statement by the Police Public Relations Officer Yazid Abubakar on June 10th, operatives of the Violence Crime Response Unit acted on credible intelligence indicating that armed bandits had barricaded the Anka-Bukoyom Road and abducted 5 travelers. Upon receiving the distress information, the police team immediately mobilized to the scene and launched the coordinated rescue mission. The operatives pursued the suspects into the surrounding bush, where they intercepted the fleeing bandits and engaged them in a gun battle. It adds that the criminals abandoned their mission and fled into the forest with suspected gunshot wounds. The operation resulted in the successful rescue of all 5 victims without any injury. Now, a total of 258 adults and children have arrived in Nigeria from South Africa aboard an Air Peace flight as part of ongoing efforts to support the voluntary return of Nigerians from that country following the spate of xenophobic attacks. The returnees were received by the Minister of State for Foreign Affairs and the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction, who assured them of government's commitment to their welfare and reintegration. Officials disclosed that a second batch of returnees are expected to arrive within the next few days as authorities continue to facilitate the safe and orderly return of Nigerians willing to come home. The federal government has issued a firm warning to contractors handling critical road projects across the country, declaring that non-performance, project delays and poor supervision will no longer be tolerated. Contractors on the Abuja-Lokoja corridor have now been given a 72-hour deadline to demonstrate visible progress or face sanctions. The warning was issued by the Minister of Works, Mr. David Umahi, during an inspection of the road project. The minister said President Bola Tinubu's commitment to infrastructure development must not be undermined by contractors or government officials who fail to deliver on their responsibilities. Our correspondent Benny Ark reports.
This inspection tour by the Minister of Works, Mr. David Umahi, is to several strategic roads and bridge projects along the Abuja-Lokoja corridors. The projects inspected include the reconstruction of Section 3 of the Abuja-Lokoja dual carriageway and the Kotokarfe-Abuja alignment. Accompanying the minister on the tour are the chairman of the Senate Committee on Works, Senator Orwell Onyeso, the chairman of the House of Representatives Committee on Works, Honorable Akin Alabi, senior officials of the Federal Ministry of Works, project supervisors, and representatives of the contracting firms. Following his assessment of works on some sections of the road, the minister expressed dissatisfaction with the level of deployment by certain contractors and issued a 72-hour ultimatum for them to return to site and accelerate project's delivery. He warned that failure to utilize funds already released could attract sanctions.
We can't be pampering contractors. If you are holding the money of the federal government, you have to bring it out and do the job, or we start going to the police and EFCs. I'm giving you 72 hours to effectively deploy on this road. Utilize the money while I'm chasing release of the money the president has graciously signed. That
the minister also turned his attention to officials of the Federal Ministry of Works, warning that any staff found to be ineffective in the supervision of projects will be removed.
I'm going to remove my staff, Ministry of Works staff, that are not doing well. Some are supervising 10 projects. Yet they cannot answer any question on any of the projects. And yet you'll be calling out Minister of Work, you'll be calling out President Tinubu. You leave people that have failed the nation. You are calling those who, lose their sleep day and night. It's very annoying.
The inspection ended with a renewed commitment by the federal government to ensure timely completion of road projects across the country. Benny Ark, Channels Television News.
A coalition of stakeholders in the health sector have called on the National Assembly to hasten the amendment of the National Health Act to allow for increased allocation to healthcare provisions fund from 1% to 2%. During a dialogue in Abuja, participants maintained that the amendment will strengthen sustainable domestic financing of healthcare while also accelerating progress in the universal health coverage.
The National Healthcare Bill was first introduced to the National Assembly in 2004 and passed into law in 2014.
Are the critical next steps, and what do you want us as CSOs to...
The bill was reintroduced in 2018, seeking to increase basic healthcare provision fund from 1% to 2%.
Thank you very much for the introduction. So we are still rubbing my...
Although it has been passed at the Senate, the bill is still waiting passage at the House of Representatives 8 years since it was reintroduced.
Abie, he just stepped out. Okay. Abie.
During the multi-stakeholder dialogue held at the Library Complex of the National Assembly, stakeholders discussed on the provisions of the bill.
We believe in your powers, sir, ma. You have so much strength, so much power to contribute to moving development forward, especially social development, health, education, nutrition, agriculture, and all of that. It took the National Assembly to intervene before the BATPF was appropriated for in 2018. It took the efforts of the then Senate President, the Senate Committee on Health, who made very strong commitments that if it wasn't appropriated for, they are going to include it in the 2018 budget. And that was exactly what they did. And today, we are happy that the DACPF is being implemented. People are enjoying the benefit.
I want to pledge that we, from the Senate Committee of Rules and Business, will liaise with our counterpart there in the House. We will definitely go there and find out if they are keeping that bill somewhere. They will bring it out. Yes, we will bring it out. We will make sure that the bill is slated for second reading, that's concurrence. It's not going back again for public hearing or anything again. It will go through the second reading and they will concur to it.
The dialogue also seeks to strengthen collaboration amongst parliamentarians, legislative officials, government agencies, civil society organizations, and development partners to advance sustainable health financing reforms.
We saw the paper, we saw the list that it has appeared at the House.
With the theme, turning health bills into health gains, the dialogue hopes that when the amendment is concluded and passed at the National Assembly, healthcare financing will receive the needed legal and constitutional legitimacy to expand basic healthcare delivery to the grassroots.
Nigeria has called on the United Nations to demonstrate more effective leadership in advancing the rights and inclusion of persons with disabilities across its institutions. Speaking at the 19th session of the Conference of States Parties to the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities at the UN headquarters in New York, Nigeria's permanent representative to the United Nations, Ambassador Jimoh Ibrahim, urged the global body to embrace greater transparency and accountability in its disability inclusion efforts. He expressed concern that despite decades of global commitments, persons with disabilities remain underrepresented and insufficiently supported within international systems and institutions. The Nigerian envoy called on the United Nations to publish comprehensive data on the representation of persons with disabilities within its workforce, arguing that transparency is essential to achieving meaningful inclusion.
About dimension by which United Nations is handling persons with disabilities. We see clearly unjust war against persons with disabilities. Why? We have 8 billion people in the world, and persons with disabilities is 1.3 billion. Now, they spend less than 0.1% of the gross GDP of the entire world. Very unfair, and they are about 20% of the population. Very, very, very unjust. So to us in Nigeria, Madam Chair, we believe that the inclusive policy, it's now 20 years that United Nations has embarked on this. The inclusive policy should be the agenda of every participant and your excellencies here for distilment into your local policies. And of course, back up by law. We believe in Nigeria that in every disability, there is ability. And there is need for United Nations to publish data in respect of people with disability in their employment. Not doing so is not encouraging. And Nigeria government wants accountability in respect of persons with disability working in United Nations to be published forthwith in the data of the United Nations. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're watching the news at 5 on Channels Television. Right after this break, we'll bring you more stories making the headlines at the moment. Stay with us. Welcome back. British Minister of International Development and Africa, Baroness Chapman Darlington, has visited Governor Obasani of Kaduna State with discussions focusing on strengthening development partnerships in governance, education and climate resilience. The visit also highlighted progress on the Mutual Accountability Framework aimed at promoting transparency and effective service delivery.
The meeting brings together Kaduna State government officials and development partners to review ongoing collaborations between the state and the United Kingdom. At the center of discussions, as highlighted by Governor Ubasani, is a mutual accountability framework, a strategic mechanism designed to ensure transparency, accountability, and measurable outcomes in governance and public service delivery in Kaduna State.
The support provided through UK-funded governance programs, beginning with the Department of International Development and now under the auspice of the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office, has been instrumental in fortifying public institutions, enhancing accountability, and nurturing reform-oriented leadership across Nigeria. In Kaduna State, this partnership has been particularly strategic, consistent, and result-driven, yielding outcomes that are not only demonstrable but also nationally recognized.
Institutionalizing local government governance programs, state partnership for accountability reforms, and climate action also emerged as key priorities during the meeting.
This commitment underscores our deliberate effort to ensure that reforms are not merely implemented but firmly institutionalized. Consequently, the FCDO has become a vital partner in supporting our ongoing reform agenda, particularly in climate governance, climate finance, domestic revenue mobilization, investment facilitation, social protection, and mineral sector governance.
Really good to be here because this is an important relationship for us. As we've heard, this relationship goes back some decades now, and we've done much important work together, and we've done that in partnership. And it's that spirit of working together that I think really characterises the relationship that there is between Kaduna and the United Kingdom.
The visit underscores the growing partnership between Kaduna State and the United Kingdom, as both sides express optimism that continued collaboration in governance, education, and climate action will accelerate sustainable development and improve the lives of citizens.
The Nigeria Revenue Service has launched a digital platform tagged Rev 360, which is designed to enhance interaction between taxpayers and the service. The chairman of the service, Mr. Zach Adedeji, says the system integrates taxpayer registration, filing and payment processing, among others, to support a single-window digital system. He believes the platform will impact revenue generation for the government.
Following the implementation of the new tax laws in the country, the Nigeria Revenue Service is evolving ways to maximize the laws, and the launch of the Rev 360 platform is part of that effort.
Why exactly are we doing that?
Since the January 1st, 2026 implementation, the government and private institutions have organized several forums to deliberate on how to make more revenue accrue to the government. The digital platform is expected to encourage interaction between tax authorities and the public.
Nigeria Revenue Service is no more an accounting agency. It's now a technology agency. This is the future. And it's not for us to dream the future. We just have to build that future. And I think that is what NRS is doing today. We are building the future that we want for ourselves.
While the nation's tax administration system continues to evolve, the government is looking at a future where tax payment will be seamless as part of plans to ensure that the revenue has impact on the lives of the people.
The Tinubu administration is committed to seeing this economy well above $1 trillion. And these are the building blocks I've mentioned. We're looking at Rev 360. It's really an honor and a privilege to be here. I've mentioned the national single window and many other reforms of this administration. And so with those few words, I would say this morning, congratulations to us all.
When tax administration becomes more efficient, compliance becomes easier. When compliance becomes easier, businesses can focus more on growth and predictability. When institutions become more transparent and predictable, investors becomes confidence, and when government are able to mobilize domestic resources more effectively, they are better positioned to invest in infrastructure, public services, and long-term development.
The launch of the Rev 360 is expected to add to the success currently experienced in tax administration in the country. Sarah Achimogu, Channels Television News.
And on business news, the Chartered Institute of Directors has held its Fellows Luncheon, bringing together Nigeria's top private sector leaders to discuss how corporate directors can drive diplomacy and trade under the African Continental Free Trade Area. A core focus of the conference was equipping board members to leverage diplomacy to advance operations.
It's a gathering that represents the apex of corporate leadership in Nigeria's private sector. The Chartered Institute of Directors, the convener of this luncheon, say it's a necessity because of the unique volatility realities of today. And so directors at the crossroads of diplomacy, trade, and corporate strategy is a much-needed conversation.
Today, corporate leaders must possess diplomatic acumen. We must understand how shifting geopolitical alliances, regional trade pacts, and international sections impact our businesses. 2, trade has transformed from a simple matter of logistics and supply chain into a complete puzzle of resource nationalism, regional protectionism, and digital integration.
The African Continental Free Trade Area presents an unprecedented opportunity, a single market of over 1.3 billion people with a combined GDP exceeding $3 trillion. Yet, translating the legal frameworks of trade pacts into active corporate growth requires deliberate boardroom leadership.
The chairman of Standard Chartered Bank of Nigeria, Mr. Folusho Phillips, drives the theme home with examples which the world is currently experiencing.
The visit you make when you want something, it is a discipline of sustained presence, sustained generosity, and sustained interest in the affairs and well-being of the people and institutions you need to trust you.
For the directors, this meeting would be a success when the theme translates to less trade barriers and duties, especially among African countries through the African Continental Free Trade Area.
Despite persistent challenges such as high borrowing costs and multiple taxation and insecurity in the country, business confidence in Nigeria recorded an improvement last month. And this is according to the latest Business Expectations Survey, BES, released by the Central Bank. The report shows that the country's business confidence index rose to 7.9 in May, which is significantly higher than the 3.9 index recorded in April. Meanwhile, the BES report cites that all major sectors maintain positive expectations for the current month, with agriculture rising from 2.7 to 9.4 index points, services improving from 1.5 to 4.6, and industry increasing from 8.8 to 12.5. And that's it on News Tracker this hour. For updates, kindly visit our website at www.channelstv.com. I'm Dominic Iwibu. Up next is The World Today.